What's up guys, it's Raccoon back with another video, and in this video I'm going to be talking about using a Pebble Classic in 2021. So recently I went to a recycling shop, which is pretty much where they take all the stuff that people want to recycle and then they sell them, and I found myself an orange Pebble Classic. And when I saw it, I instantly knew I had to buy it. And the price was only 20 bucks, so I'm like, it's worth the gamble. Even if it doesn't work, it's still a thing I can put on my shelf. So I took it, and I took it home. And when I took it home, I found out a few problems. For starters, my Pebble time charger obviously doesn't work with this because it's a completely different design, so I couldn't even test it out. So I found this little tutorial on YouTube where you use an old micro USB cable and you take the red and the black wires from the USB cable and you put them on the correct pads on the Pebble itself. And after I did that, I saw some signs of life. The Pebble started showing some weird black lines going through the screen, so I was a bit confused. It was just showing this weird stuff on the screen. It kind of looked like tearing and it just looked like the screen was damaged. So I searched up how to fix a Pebble screen. It turns out this is a very common problem with these Pebbles, and it's very easy to fix. It turns out it's just the display cable, which is kind of not getting good contact with the display itself, and all you need to fix this is putting a piece of cardboard behind the cable itself and then pushing up against it against the case. So I did that, and yes, the Pebble works absolutely flawlessly now. So after a quick update to the latest software, we've got it all up and running beautifully. So now I have a fully functioning Pebble Classic in the orange color, which is actually in really good condition. It only has one big scratch over the screen, and apart from that, it's in pretty much pristine condition. So now I've been using it for roughly a week, and I gotta say, it's an absolute joy to use. For starters, the design of this watch is such a classic design. It looks like something that came straight out of the 80s or 90s, with its lovely see-through polycarbonate with a bit of orange on the back of it, which is very classic design. And then just the general shape of it, it's a clear rectangle with a nice bit of curving so it goes over your wrist nicely. Now I'm used to using a Pebble time, so in comparison to this watch, they're actually really similar from an actual user perspective. They both have very similar features. The only thing you'll see missing on this watch is that it doesn't have the Pebble fitness and all that, so you won't be able to track your steps very easily. You can get apps for that, but I just found them to be not very reliable. Now, as for everything else on this device, it shares pretty much the same things as the Pebble time, with its amazing e-paper display, which is one of my favorite features with these watches, which pretty much allows it to stay on all the time for a 7-day battery life. The only shortcoming with this display is that it's a black and white display, unlike the Pebble time, which is a color display. But for me, it doesn't really bother me. I mean, I don't really care about colors and stuff like that. At the end of the day, I'm just using it to look at the time and a few notifications. It also shares its 7-day battery life, as I mentioned, as well as its 30-meter water resistance, which I find really useful, and I pretty much can't use a watch without a water resistant rating of at least a few meters, just for safety and peace of mind. So using this watch in 2021 was fantastic. I absolutely love the design, and it's such a classy and classic design, and the actual build quality of this watch is also really good. It feels very solid. The only thing is that the polycarbonate on the front of the screen will scratch very easily. So what are the advantages of using a Pebble smartwatch compared to other smartwatches of this decade? So the first thing you'll notice, this is with all of the Pebble lineup, is that it has buttons to navigate through the operating system, and I absolutely love this about this watch, and that's why I'm an absolute huge fan of Pebble watches compared to any other smartwatch, because they do not have tactile buttons to navigate through the operating system. And these tactile buttons make it super easy to just navigate through using muscle memory and not having to touch things and stuff like that. Like for example, skipping music, you can literally just take your hand over to your wrist and press the button, which you've learnt from muscle memory, and you don't have to actually look at the watch. So it makes things a lot faster and it's just a lot more convenient compared to touchscreen smartwatches. And as for just general speed and using this thing compared to other smartwatches which have much more modern technology, this thing actually really holds its ground. I mean, the animations are a lot slower than a lot of watches, but in my opinion, it's nice and tasteful and has a lot of personality in it, which is what I really like. But in comparison to other watches, you will see that it is quite a bit slower just because of those animations, which I'm sure they're probably there to buy time for the watch to actually load up the task or whatever. But it's not that slow to a point where I'm getting annoyed. It's not even that slow really, it's just a little bit slower than the other watches. As for bands for this watch, you can get any 22mm band, just like with with all Pebble watches, you can put them on. Mine, when I got it, actually was crumbling. The silicone just started crumbling after a day of use. It literally just like fell apart. So I had to put this fabric one on for the time being until I get myself a new band. But it is nice that it uses a universal 22mm band and not some sort of proprietary band technology that you need to buy separately and costs a load of money. So in conclusion, using a Pebble Classic in 2021 is still a fantastic watch. And if you can get one of these for 20 bucks, then you have got yourself a bargain. And the amount of watch faces and apps you can put on these watches makes it just so good. You pretty much have an app for anything you'd like and a watch face to any sort of personalization or any sort of customization you'd like to do. My personal favorite watch face for this watch, and just pretty much for all Pebble watches, is definitely Pixel Perfect, and that's one I'm rocking right now. So at the end of the day, this watch still really holds its ground and it's an absolute classic. So if you can get it for that cheap price, as I mentioned, this watch is a fantastic watch. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like on the video. If you didn't, drop a dislike on the video. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.